Hey guys, welcome back to the Stuff of Legend. My name is D'Lo, and today's episode is the 10 things that I love about Black Panther. So the first thing is Wakanda. So what I mean by this is the culture, the accents, the geography, the way that Michael Kugler created and presented this fictional country, because it's not real. I don't know if I've seen a lot of you guys talking about Wakanda online that as if it's a real place. Some airline company was promoting that they do flights to Wakanda now. And it was really funny. From the clothing, to the weaponry, to the fighting styles, the accents that are used, you are absolutely immersed in culture from start to finish in this movie. You can feel how much the traditions mean to these people. You walk out of the theater feeling like you got a history lesson about a real place, about real people with real struggles that fit into our modern world. You almost feel the same way that I feel when I watch The Lord of the Rings. So when I watch The Lord of the Rings, you feel like these places are real. Like you feel like these are parts of a world that may not be our own, but it's real. Like you feel like the culture is real. The people are real. The relationships between one people and another and how they see each other, the struggles that are there, you feel like it's real. You feel like you just went there. Watching The Lord of the Rings, the Middle Earth feels like a real place. The Shire feels like a real place. Mordor feels real. Gondor feels real. All of it feels real. And that's how it feels with Wakanda. Even though it's super advanced technology, their science is beyond anything we know, their healing is beyond anything we know, the medicine, there was so much thought behind it, and I know a lot of it is straight ripped out of the comics, so it's really easy to find that depth within the source material. But to be able to portray it on screen in a convincing way is no easy task, and they were able to do it. Kugler, congratulations, you have created for yourself a nation of Wakandans. You feel like you want to cross your arms and pound your chest and be a part of that world, and it's a lot of fun. Everyone who was on set was in an accent as well, so except for probably Michael B. Jordan being the only person that did not take part in having that accent, it was so impressive to me afterward. You don't think about it when the movie's going on. You see an interview with Chadwick Boseman and he's talking like, oh man, oh no, it's not like that. He talks like that, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not the accent he had. And you're like, oh yeah, well, he's an actor. Yeah, he's a darn good actor, and so is everybody in the movie. They're all doing this same accent, and it feels so real. They took elements from all these other African cultures, the clothes, the colors, the beads, the hair, the accents. They mashed it all together and created Wakanda, and it's so cool. It's so much fun. I loved Wakanda. Number 2 are the characters with comic book cameos. So in the film, we see Shuri. Those of us that have followed the Black Panther in recent years have seen that Shuri eventually takes over as the Black Panther. She's the female Black Panther, the sister of T'Challa, and she is possibly the smartest individual in the world, alongside people like T'Challa and Iron Man, and she's up there with the big think tanks that are in the MCU, but even in the Marvel Comics universe, she's up there with the likes of Reed Richards, and it's really cool to see her portrayed in this way. With her hands-on advanced technology from a young age, she was able to develop in this way too. But her cameo in reference to her becoming Black Panther is in the ceremonial challenge scene when all the tribes come together to crown T'Challa the King of Wakanda. He has to prove himself by allowing all the other tribes to present one of their royal bloodline to challenge T'Challa if they should choose. And no one does until Mbaku shows up. But before he does, Zuri says to all the tribes, is there anyone who would like to challenge T'Challa for their right to be king? And Shuri raises her hand, and this is a nod to her taking the place of Black Panther in the comics. But in the movie, she doesn't challenge him. It's a joke, and she says, I would like to go home, so can we all just wrap this up? And they ignore her, but then Mbaku shows up, and that was really fun. So that was a nod to her being the Black Panther in the comic books, which was not really happening in the movie, but they reference it. They want to acknowledge that for us, the fans. On the Mbaku note, Mbaku in the comics is Man-Ape. He is a rival, and he's a villain to Black Panther, but he's more of a rival, and he's a guy in a white gorilla suit. And he runs around, he's like, I'm Man-Ape, and you know, it's like, it's this really laughable concept. But in the movie, he was so cool. But his reference was that he is the leader of the Jabari tribe, the tribe that departed from all the other tribes, and he is also known as the Great White Gorilla. They don't call him Man-Ape. It could kind of come across as like a racial slur if you were to go into calling people monkeys. That's not nice, especially in a movie that's so elevating to African culture and tradition. and empowering for black actors and black people everywhere. It's a really cool discussion opener and excellent movie, by the way. Mbaku comes and he challenges T'Challa for the right to be king. They have this amazing fight scene. It was so cool. It was super epic. I loved the fight there. And Mbaku and his tribe do like kind of a guerrilla grunting. That's kind of their thing. It's a lot of fun. He makes a joke about being a vegetarian. Gorillas are vegetarian as well. The dude is huge. The dude is jacked. Winston Duke killed that role. We all loved him in his role. Everybody who saw the movie loved Winston Duke as Mbaku, but in the comics, he was the man-ape. I have a feeling that they're going to explore him more, not only because they didn't get to him becoming man-ape, which they may never officially do, but everybody loved him so much that they are certainly going to bring him back. Marvel is all about giving the fans what they want, and that's why they're so successful. They have good storytelling, they have good character development. They don't sacrifice the plot of a movie for world building, which has been a flaw of DC films, not because of their characters, not because of their stories, but because I think WB is getting in the way of letting writers and directors tell the stories they want to, which is why you always see them walk away from projects with creative differences. And lastly, Bast the Panther Goddess. And this one was cool because Bast was mentioned several times. She was lightly touched upon in the opening when you hear the child saying, "Baba, tell me a story." And the man starts explaining about the meteor and vibranium and how the radiation, which we all believe is the soul stone, saturated the land. They get the heart-shaped herb and they use that to empower the Black Panther with super strength, super speed, agility, reflexes, and instincts to be the protector and the king of Wakanda and protector of the vibranium ore that fell to Earth in the meteor. We all believe the core of that meteor being the soul stone. Because it also allows the Black Panther to connect with his ancestors who are dead and go to the ancestral plane where the dead reside. Black Panther is also eventually in the comic books King of the Dead. There's a lot that's there, but they talk about Bast the Panther Goddess. They say that she is a god, she is one of the gods, and there are others out there. They allude to that. So there's more there. There's more to Bast than meets the eye, and I think they're going to explore a lot more of that in the Black Panther sequel. Number 3, characters who were different from their comic book selves that worked very well. I have 2 individuals within this category. The first being Eric Killmonger. Now, in the comic books, he was not at all related to T'Challa or the royal bloodline. He was an outsider. He came in and he wanted to take over the throne. It was kind of a similar plot. However, there was none of the family ties, and I feel like making him the nephew of King T'Chaka, the son of Njobu, having him be the cousin to T'Challa, that was really good. It was really compelling emotionally. I mean, every one of us has family to some degree. Even if you're adopted, you come from somewhere and you think about those things. Everybody has people that are close to them, maybe that feel like a brother, a friend, somebody. You get that kind of betrayal. Everyone understands, you know, everyone can grab that tangible emotional thing. The number one difference being that he is not actually part of the family in the comic books, but in the movie he is. I really liked that they made him a family member. It added so much depth to even who T'Chaka was as a person. I'm gonna shift gears here and talk about the Queen Mother, T'Challa's mom. In the comic books, she was the 3rd wife of King T'Chaka. I'm really glad they didn't do that, or at least didn't tell us that. They didn't explicitly say she was never married to anyone else and she's the only wife of T'Chaka. They just simply didn't explore anything else. They didn't talk of any other kids besides Shuri of the same wife. So it helps to paint T'Chaka as a good man, as a family man who loves his family. It helps to connect to him more emotionally. It makes the big reveal about killing his brother that much deeper. It was something that I really liked that they changed about the Queen Mother, that she's not the 3rd wife of T'Chaka. She's just the wife of T'Chaka. She's the queen. And they don't get into any of those details. Though they could still be there, they didn't discuss them. We don't know about them, and so people don't automatically assume that he was married multiple times. That was something that I liked. Eric Killmonger being part of the family was great. I liked that. Also, the Queen Mother not being referenced as the 3rd wife and not alluding to that, shoving that under the rug, or getting rid of that altogether and just having her be the sole queen of Wakanda to T'Chaka. That was a great decision. I like that. Number 4, the villains. Ulysses Claw was a lot of fun. I really loved Andy Serkis in that role. I loved him in all of his motion capture and voice acting roles. He is great, but it was really good to be able to see him present on the screen. That is something that I actually had no prior experience with him. As far as I can think, I don't remember actually seeing him in a movie outside of like motion capture jobs. Smeagol. and Gollum. Also playing in Planet of the Apes and King Kong and countless other motion capture jobs. I love Andy Serkis, but this was a really cool one. Seeing him present was great. He's eccentric, he's funny, but he's also a cold-hardened thief, and he does a really good job portraying his fear of Wakanda, his respect for their might, and how he has to remain under the radar because he's on their watch list. You know, they're looking for him. He did a great job. Also, Eric Killmonger. The #1 complaint about the Black Panther movie, from what I've heard from all of my friends and everybody I've talked to, was that they loved Eric Killmonger, but they wish that there was more of him, or that their complaint against the Black Panther film was that Eric Killmonger was only in the early beginning and then also at the end. It felt like there wasn't enough of him, and that speaks to how well Michael B. Jordan did in the role of Killmonger. He was powerful in delivering his lines. He was strong in emotional connection with us, the viewers, and his story was compelling. I mean, the dude was super fit. He was jacked, like super jacked. Have you seen the pictures? The dude is incredible. He looks like a mannequin at Dick's Sporting Goods. His fight scenes were amazing. I really loved the challenge scene between him and T'Challa. I even started tearing up in that scene. It was very emotional, but it was also brutal. Like, he was beating the crap out of T'Challa. And then he throws him over the waterfall, and there was just so much there. So, I'm the king now! You could feel a lifetime of hatred, a lifetime of waiting for that revenge moment. It was so good, and I love him. I'm so glad that Marvel picked him back up after the Fant 4 stick crumbled. I was really worried that they were gonna waste some of that talent, and I hope that there's still actors from the Fant 4 stick movie that they pick back up for future roles, because there was some good talent there that was absolutely wasted. But I loved Ulysses Claw, and I loved Eric Killmonger. Excellent villains. #5 is the technology. Man, we see a lot in this film. It was almost space age, how advanced some of the tech was in this movie, but it still felt believable. My suspension of disbelief was not broken by it. There was the sonic mining tools that Ulysses Claw stole and then he uses in his prosthetic arm that transforms into this like sonic cannon. It made a lot of sense, and it was a really cool adaptation. We've seen stuff similar to that with Iron Man's repulsor blaster gauntlets. It felt very similar, especially when you get Shuri taking that technology and implementing it into those Panther blaster gauntlets. That was really cool. We also get to see them remote controlling vehicles. They had those little tech discs that they would throw on vehicles, and then it would hijack the computers inside of the vehicles so that they could remote pilot cars and planes. Their comm links were really cool. It almost looked like crazy like sand that would come up. It would hollow project within like that sand, and all the leaders of Wakanda had those things. You see the gravity levitating railway with the sonic dampeners to deactivate the vibranium. It's actually some technology that we are not very far off from. A lot of countries are already experimenting with that technology, which is one of the reasons why Everett Ross says, I've seen this technology, but never like this. It's basically like, you guys already have it up and running. You guys are already utilizing this technology. And it's really cool. It gives it a real world touch, showing that they are so much further advanced, that they're the things that real world civilizations are working on, they have already implemented into their culture and society. Not to mention cloaking. Cloaking in their suits, sonic dampening in the shoes, with the joke Shuri makes about calling them sneakers because you use them to sneak. Cloaking their ships, and cloaking the entire city of Wakanda. That's impressive. There was so much that was used in multiple ways, and then there was the healing beads. I don't exactly know how those work. I'm sure it has something to do with the radiation from the meteor. Whatever, I don't understand the technology. We kind of have to take this one on faith. The little healing beads that they put in Everett Ross's bullet wound in his spine to keep him alive until they can get him real medical attention. They have things like that that are really impressive. On top of having the biggest source of vibranium on Earth, which is super cool, and they're able to adapt it into like a nano weave. And nanites was something that they mentioned I would like to see more of as well. I got really excited. All in all, the technology in this movie was amazing, and it was a lot of fun to watch unfold, and it leaves questions about where the tech is gonna go in the next films, since they've opened up Wakanda to the rest of the world and intend to share that tech with everybody else. #6, mysticism and spirituality. Wakanda utilizes the heart-shaped herb that grows from the soil that was saturated with radiation from the meteorite, which we all believe to be the Soul Stone. Wakanda is and always has been very heavily spiritually involved in the comics. With magic, with mysticism, and with spirituality, all of those things have been in the history and lore of the Black Panther throughout the comics. Black Panther even eventually becomes the King of the Dead, as the Black Panther has the ability to connect with his ancestors who are dead. In the movie, in the MCU, they do this by means of the heart-shaped herb, which is a plant that is grown out of the radiation-soaked ground after the meteor falls from the earth and brings vibranium. A lot of people, namely myself and a lot of others, believe that the soul stone was the heart of that meteor, and that vibranium was what encased the soul gem. So when it comes to Earth, it crash lands Wakanda, they find a way to start mining the vibranium, but it takes a long time and there's so much of it, they haven't yet gotten to the core. When they do finally get to the core, I believe they will find the soul stone, and that's probably going to happen inside of Infinity War. But as far as the mystic and the spiritual of this movie, it was really cool because it opens up doors to go into other dimensions. Just like how Ant-Man explores the microverse and Doctor Strange explores many different dimensions and the idea of a multiverse in multiple dimensions, you get alternate dimensions within Black Panther, and this opens up a huge discussion about who else is going to be part of the mystic and the magic of Wakanda in the future. There's plenty of villains that are part of that. There's plenty of heroes that are part of that. But it got me really excited as a fan to explore that part of not only African tradition, but Wakandan tradition and comic book tradition. Other people who use magic, mysticism, or spirituality, like Ghost Rider, Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange, who we've already seen, and Mephisto. There's a lot of individuals in the comics that are either part of the magic, part of the mystic, or part of the spiritual. And I can't wait to see those people because they've already cracked that door open with Black Panther 1. I can't wait to see where they go in Infinity War, after Infinity War, and in the sequel and trilogy for Black Panther. Number 7, the Doorman Lodge. These chicks are freaking savage. If I could summarize how the Doorman Lodge feel on screen, namely Okoye is dangerous. Like, these chicks feel dangerous. I mean, it's kind of like how Black Widow felt in Iron Man 2. They show up, they got their spear, and it's like, you see them fight, and then it's like, what the heck? You know, she's beating the tar out of these dudes with spears. She's tearing them apart. You know, the Wakandan martial arts are probably not something everybody else knows about. It was based off of African fighting styles, ancient fighting styles with shield and spear, but the Doorman Lodge are spear wielders. They're highly trained, experts in combat, and some of the best fighters in the Marvel Universe. It was so much fun, especially the casino scene in South Korea with Okoye. That was probably the best fight scene we got in the movie, except for not the last fight, but the prelude to the last fight, where it's the battleground scene in the plane. Killmonger's there, and the Doorman Lodge begin to attack Killmonger. W'Kabi and his men start to attack T'Challa. That whole fight scene in the plane, and then the rhinos show up. That was probably the best scene, but then you get Okoye and her spear scene in the casino. It was so cool. Dude, they are savages, and to see them hold to their traditions, they have so much respect. Even when her loyalty to T'Challa as a person is challenged, they believe him to be dead. She's weeping, she's mourning, but she's loyal to the throne, and that's who she is. And she's, you know, she's taken an oath. That's who she is, and she honors that. It's really cool to see her and the Doorman Lodge be loyal in that way. And then when Killmonger is not willing to respect their traditions, when T'Challa shows up and he never submitted and he's not dead, the challenge is still active. Killmonger doesn't respect their traditions, so technically T'Challa is still the king. Now they realize he's the one that is going against Wakanda. They didn't agree with his policies, but it's not about agreeing with his policies, it's about loyalty to the throne. And so they get their opportunity to side back with T'Challa, and it's just awesome. It's so cool. They're savage fighters, they're loyal traditionalists, and it's really cool to see that their tradition, their culture, and their way of life is upheld to that degree, and it shows how they stand out from everyone else, like Nakia and, you know, everyone else who is willing to go away from tradition for personal commitment, family, and that kind of thing. It shows different types of people. It was nice. It was refreshing. I loved it. Number 8 is T'Challa and T'Chaka, Sins of the Father. So in the movie, T'Chaka and Zuri had to make some really tough decisions when Prince N'Jobu betrayed them and betrayed Wakanda for an outsider as he became radicalized when he was on mission as a war dog. N'Jobu attacks Zuri and T'Chaka has to defend him. He kills him, and it's this very dark twist that is shocking. Everybody in the theater was like, oh my gosh, that's intense. Like, what just happened? And that's kind of the same reaction that you get from Black Panther, from T'Challa, when he finds out the truth. T'Chaka was a good man. You know, he was a family man. He was close with his son. He was close with his wife and his daughter. You get this message that even good people make mistakes. Even good people have to make tough decisions, and you live with the consequences, and sometimes those consequences come back to haunt you. And that's what's happening here. T'Challa is having to face Killmonger because Killmonger was left without a father because King T'Chaka, and even though it was N'Jobu's fault, the consequences will still fall forward to T'Challa. Leaving a nephew to rot in Oakland without a dad took a massive toll on Killmonger. You see in the first scene where T'Challa is drinking the herb and he goes to the ancestral plane, you see this strong connection with his dad. You see how emotional it is for T'Challa to be reunited with his father after his death and murder at the hands of Baron Zemo. I cried in that scene, it was so powerful. But then later to see him be reunited with his dad again after learning what happened, and he's so disappointed, he's so furious. This man that he loves so much, looked up to so much, was his role model, was his king, and his father, his daddy, in the movie, his Baba. You get brokenhearted. T'Challa's brokenhearted that this could happen, that his dad did something like that, so terrible, but he did it for Wakanda, but it's unacceptable. And T'Challa now is the king, and so he has to think like a king, not as a son. And as a son, he's disappointed. As a king, he has to correct these mistakes. He has to face these problems now. It's on his shoulders. The whole situation is heart-wrenching, but it made for a very, very good story. Great movie. I cried at one point, and I teared up at multiple points. Even when Killmonger went to the ancestral plane and saw his dad and had that conversation where his dad was like, "What's the matter? No tears for me." And it's like, he's so broken from that experience that he can't even conjure up tears for his own father having seen him again. But then he does tear up a little bit, but it's like they're trying to create this chaos in the world as kind of like a retribution for what happened. I thought that the whole Sins of the Father storyline between T'Chaka and T'Challa was amazing. I loved every bit of it. Number 9 is Mbaku and the Jabari tribe. In the beginning, we see the Jabari tribe and the story that's being told about all the tribes that came to protect the vibranium. When the meteor fell to Earth, the goddess Boss gifted the land, and the Jabari tribe decided to diverge from the group. They wanted to uphold their traditions. They didn't want to move forward with everybody else in isolating from the world, and this separated them. There was a lot of tension between the tribes because the Jabari felt excluded. No previous king ever came to visit the Jabari or have any kind of relation with the Jabari. There was this resentment there. So when Mbaku shows up to challenge T'Challa for the right to be king, it is so powerful. And Winston Duke really brought his lines, man. He did such a good job. He was one of my favorite characters, and he's one of everybody I ask. They're always like, "Oh yeah, the guy that played the big guy, the Gorilla King." I'm like, yeah, Mbaku of the Jabari tribe. Yeah, that's his name. He is a savage. And that fight scene was so epic. It was so emotional. There was so much passion there. And then T'Challa spares his life, and that comes full circle. He pays that forward later when he finds T'Challa's body washing up in the river. He takes him back and lays him on the snow and preserves him, and then they revive him with the herb. He kind of becomes a friend to T'Challa. T'Challa asks for him to help him overthrow Killmonger. He's gonna need his help. He needs an army. He says, "No, I can't put my people on the line like that." In the best interest for his own people, he doesn't agree to join, but then later he does. It is so cool. Seeing his fight scenes, both with the challenge with T'Challa, and then also when he comes back to rescue T'Challa and the people of Wakanda from the uprising. It is so cool. I love Mbaku. Every scene with Mbaku is either really emotionally powerful or it's really funny. There's a lot of jokes in the scenes with Mbaku, and it's really cool. I love him. Winston Duke is definitely going to be the biggest breakout star from this film. We're going to see him in a lot of movies after this. Mark my words. I feel like most people, we would like to see more of Mbaku explored in, hopefully, Infinity War, but also in the Black Panther sequel. We all want more of Winston Duke as Mbaku. And finally, coming in at number 10 is the White Wolf, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. So in the comics, the White Wolf was a white boy, a Caucasian young male who was the sole survivor of a plane crash that landed in Wakanda under the reign of King T'Chaka. King T'Chaka takes the boy in. They called him Hunter. He grows up to be a hunter. He's trained by T'Chaka. They have a good relationship. He's one of the first outsiders to be welcomed in, but also given a place in the royal family, being adopted by the king. He grows up to become a member of the Wakandan police force, their law enforcement division, which is called the Hutut Zarazeh. And in the movie, this is referenced as the war dogs, or those espionage spies. Prince Njobu and even Zuri, who was known as Prince Njobu's friend James in the beginning, they were sent out as spies. Those guys were part of the Hutut Zarazeh. It's like an elite fighting force, but it's kind of their espionage and police of Wakanda. So they do both. They go out on mission, but they also are the law enforcement for Wakanda within the city. And in the movie, they don't mention Hutut Zarazeh. They just mention them as war dogs. So you'll hear that a few times in the movie. They were war dogs or war dog missions. That's what that's referring to. And the leader of this group is called the White Wolf. So in the comics, it was that white boy that was brought in and adopted by King T'Chaka, and he was raised inside of their police force or their special operations and law enforcement within the city to be the chief of that group. So he's the leader of that group, and he gets his own suit, kind of like a Black Panther suit, but it's called the White Wolf suit, and he gets that role. So he's a superhero of his own right within Wakanda, loyal to the throne, loyal to the king. But in this movie, in the Black Panther movie, in the end credit scene at the very end of the credits, the second one, the camera opens up and there's these little kids, they're looking down at you, at the camera, and they're saying stuff like, they're saying White Wolf. And you hear Shuri, she's all, is he awake? Get away from him. You know, quit bothering that man. They leave the hut, and then out of the hut comes Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. He doesn't have his arm. Remember, he was in rehabilitation. So Shuri helped to remove all of the mind control and mind poisoning things that they put in him when they broke him, when Hydra broke him to become the Winter Soldier. They brainwashed him so that he would have to obey their every command. They were able to undo that in Wakanda. They were able to heal him from those things and physically heal where Iron Man ripped his arm out. And so he's been fully restored. But also you hear Shuri say, there's much I have to brief you on. Come on. She's been keeping him in the loop. She's been talking to him. We don't know how much he knows or how involved he is, but we know that he is at some degree involved and aware of situations in Wakanda, and she is going to brief him on a lot that has happened. He's developed a relationship with Shuri. I would imagine that he will have some degree of a relationship with the other characters that are inside of the palace, like Okoye, people that frequently visit with Shuri, and the kids know him, which says a lot. I mean, if you're gonna let kids hang out around a stranger, he's probably not a stranger anymore. He's probably well known in that community, and I'm really excited for that. The White Wolf being the person that takes over as the head of espionage and law enforcement in Wakanda, that would be such a redemptive arc for Bucky Barnes. We know that Captain America passes the mantle on to a few different individuals in the comic books. One of them being Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and the other one being Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. He takes over. At first I was like, I would much rather see Bucky take the mantle than I would rather have Sam Wilson, the Falcon, take over the mantle of Captain America. However, now that they have a really legit place for him, they've set it up, he could be that White Wolf, he could be a supporting character inside of the Black Panther trilogy and the MCU moving forward. He could be the White Wolf. That would be a super cool, super iconic and fitting character for him to be, since his background is espionage, military. Technically it's law enforcement. I mean, it's, you know, if you're in the military, if you're an officer, if you're a sergeant, and then having his history as a super soldier trained hitman, everything he's gonna need. He's so qualified for the role of Wakandan law enforcement, it's crazy. That would be really cool for him, and he'd be able to use his skills in a way that is positive. It's for the betterment of mankind. Not only did he receive healing from Wakanda, but he also would have a shot at redemption, find meaningful purpose for his life and his skills. It would make sense that in the Infinity War trailer, all of his scenes were in Wakanda, and he's got his arm back. They make him a vibranium arm. He can be the White Wolf of Wakanda and have a meaningful role as a huge asset and ally to King T'Challa, the Black Panther. It would be so cool. Just like how they built Sam Wilson's Falcon for Steve Rogers, they could give Sam Wilson's Falcon the mantle of Captain America moving forward, and then also give a very special role to Bucky Barnes in the Black Panther series. I think that would be awesome. It got me so excited when I saw that. I lost it. I was like, yes, because I hadn't thought of that. That was not something I thought that they would do. Marvel blew my mind with that one. I was so happy with that. That was the 10 things that I loved about Black Panther. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about the Black Panther and what were the things that you liked about the movie. I would love to have that conversation with you guys and see what it was that made Black Panther so special to you. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like this video, share it if you love it, and subscribe for more. Click the notification bell to be alerted right away when I upload my next video. I upload content every week, so be paying attention for that. And I'll see you guys next time on The Stuff of Legend.